everyone, welcome to Post-Race Conversations. If you're a part of our watch party, you saw us, myself and Mike Neff, Trey, Lyle, Mike Neff here. After the Cracker Barrel 400, we're about to get our on-track team. Dalton Hopkins will join us, maybe Danny Peters as well. Reminder, as Neff will turn down his TV audio while we do this.
Thanks for reminding me that. Thank you very much.
This video is brought to you by My Place Hotels. Proud to be the official hotel sponsor of frontstretch.com with plush beds, in-room kitchens, and pet-friendly hotels. My Place makes for the perfect pit stop when traveling. Racing fans, you can use promo code FRONTSTRETCH to save 10% off your stay at any of our nationwide properties. That's 10% off nationwide with code FRONTSTRETCH. This racing season, be sure to make My Place your place. We're here with Mike Neff. Neff, we'll talk about the winner, Ryan Blaney. We'll talk about Carson Hocevar. We'll talk about the recoveries of Bubba Wallace, Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick, and Christopher Bell in a moment. But something I do want to talk about before we get Dalton on is this in-season tournament, the $1 million in-season tournament that will start in Atlanta when TNT takes coverage. But the next 3 weeks, the seating will be set at Michigan, at Mexico City, and Pocono. The 32 drivers were locked in, which were based off points. Brad Keselowski, which is weird to say, will be the final driver in to go along with Noah Gragson, Justin Haley, Daniel Suarez, Ty Dillon, Brad Keselowski, the final five. SVG, which at one point tonight looked like he had a shot at getting in. Unfortunately,
he had a shot.
That first stage did not go his way. Your overall excitement level about this in-season tournament before we actually dive in about this race when Dalton joins us.
I treat this similar to the All-Star race. I'm excited for it. I think it gives you some cool things to talk about, some storylines in the middle of the season, which I enjoy. They need to get off this $1 million number. $1 million isn't what it used to be. It needs to be a lot higher payday than that. But secondly, I think it would be a lot more fun and a lot more exhilarating if the drivers put up their own money. I said this about the All-Star race when we watched that. I think this would be the same thing. If each of these drivers had to put up, $25,000, $50,000 of their own money, and it was winner take all, I think things would change a little bit in the intensity side of things. But I'm with it. I thought it was a great idea when Denny came up with it. I know the NBA latched onto this idea, and I think it's going to be a great addition to the season. And I look forward to seeing the race within the race as these guys are going head-to-head during races during the TNT part of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder. So the seating actually is not based off of points. It'll be over the next 3 weeks. So if you have theoretically, give me a driver. Let's say Denny Hamlin, the guy who came up with it, finished first. His average finish is first. He would have the number 1 overall seed.
Yeah.
So it will be interesting to see. I'm interested because they open with Atlanta, and then it's Chicago. So that's a wild card, and then you have Chicago as a wild card for these first two, and then you sort of settle it out. And you're right. I mean, I say the in-season tournament, I'm fine with being $1 million, but it just kind of proves the All-Star race, which is we're dragging over the coals here with a point. It should be over $1 million. But thanks so much for anyone joining. Give us your thoughts on the race, on the in-season tournament, whatever you got in the comments section here in our front stretch garage as we're discussing this post-race of the Cracker Barrel 400, won by Ryan Blaney. And Neff, I don't know about you, but it feels like it's just like the way the season has gone for Ryan Blaney. It's like he finally doesn't have the piano drop on him. How big was it? You look at Team Penske as a whole, which got criticized last year for how slow they were during this part of the season. Through 14 races, all 4 drivers, and I'm counting Josh Berry, locked in with the win. But 2 for Ryan Blaney specifically. How big is it just to get off the schneid and get the win, and we get the job done tonight here in Nashville? Because he truly had, he got what he needed on that final stage, a long green flag run. He was the best long run car, and he proved it at the end.
And the team performed. I mean, they performed across the board, and that has been the Achilles heel all season. Ryan made some mistakes. Fuel guy made some mistakes. Tire changers made mistakes. They had strategy mistakes. Every single race, it seemed like they were in contention. the final stage would roll around, and somewhere in that final stage, or the final couple stages, somehow they would shoot themselves in the foot. And tonight they were on point. They had great pit stops. I think the one pit stop was a touch slow, but it still was under 13 seconds. And if you're under 13 seconds, you can't complain. So everybody executed. And look at Blaney. I mean, to be fair, we were watching it on the watch party. Hocevar was gaining on him as the laps were counting down. And then he got up to where he worked his way through some lappers to put a little cushion between himself and Hocevar. And he never put a wheel wrong that entire time. And that was where you were worried about, is this going to be another one of these where an engine blows or he gets up too fast coming behind, I don't know, Fincham or something, and it throws him for a loop and he bounces it off the wall, bends a toe link, and the night gets ended. But this race, there were a couple times where he got just a touch loose, but it wasn't anything where he really missed his line, and the whole team put it together and scored a win.
What does it say about Team Penske as a whole now that they have their 4 drivers, and counting Josh Berry here, locked in after a true story last year was how, yes, Cindric won, Blaney was really good, Logano won the championship, but it felt like speed-wise throughout the whole season, they were a step behind the other teams. It feels like this season, they're better than they were last year, and I know they won the championship, but I would feel like based off the performance so far, they feel like they've now caught up. I don't want to say caught up, but they've now feel like they have the speed consistently each week that we just did not see last season.
Yeah, it was more of a Jimmy Johnson approach last year. Jimmy Johnson used to win 3-4 races early in the season, and then all the way through the summer, they would run mid-pack. They'd have some blown engines. They would experiment. And then right before playoffs would start, 1 or 2 races before the playoffs, they'd run top 5, top 3, maybe get a win. And then as the chase went down the road, they dominated. And that was kind of what Penske did last year. They had some wins early to get themselves locked in. But over the summer, it was like an experimentation thing, and they just looked like they were off. But I think they were really trying some stuff. This year, they may be doing that, but whatever they're trying is working because they've got a lot more speed this year than they had last year. And if I'm the rest of the field, I'm feeling pretty nervous having to go up against those 4 cars.
One guy we might not get to with Dalton who had a really good night is Eric Jones. He finishes 7th in this one. He was up front throughout the entire evening. Legacy Motor Club, big step this year. But speaking of that, Eric Jones night, a really, really good performance for him. And he was, battling up front at one point. Your thoughts on how that Jones boy did tonight?
I say that Jones boy, we were talking about him on the watch party, is to be in one of those drivers that could push this total number of winners close to, if not 217 by the time the playoffs get here, which is my still dream to have happen. I don't think it will, but it'd be great. But we talked about how over the years, he'll always have those 1, 2, 3 races where he really runs up front and contends. But it has seemed this year like it's been a more consistent progression and that he's had a lot better finishes and he's been slowly working closer to the front of the field on a regular basis, where in years past, it was like one-off races. Now it feels like you're seeing that 43, top 15, top 10, getting closer to those top 5s almost every weekend.
Yeah, I think, look how it definitely, you can see the natural progression of Legacy Motor Club. John Hunter has had a really solid season this year for him with multiple top 10s, excuse me. He obviously didn't have it tonight as much, but he was able, he was holding off, what's his name, at the Blaney in front. He was in front of Blaney for a while, but John Hunter finished 27th tonight, 1 lap down. But you think about it, he's still 22nd in points. Jones is 24th in points. It feels like as a team, their natural progression, that year 2 with Toyota, has taken has gone in the right step, which you would
Yep.
expect. They basically hit the big reset button last year, and I think you have to feel like Legacy Motor Club, who are building themselves back up as a completely different team, are at least you can see they're in the right direction.
For sure. They're making strides and their momentum is going in the right direction, which ironically is not where RFK is going. The boys at RFK, it has been a struggle of late, and at the moment it doesn't look like it's getting any better.
Yeah, absolutely. Javier dropping our comments, going all conspiracy theory here. Thinking Toyota literally sabotaged Chevrolet. I don't know about that, but it was definitely that's if you look at it, the top leading Chevy obviously was Hocevar. I think another thing about this is look at the mix tonight. You had a Penske, Spire, JGR Penske, Hendrick, 2311, Legacy Hendrick, 2311, JGR. I mean, the team, like multiple manufacturers, all the manufacturers represented, and two 2311, two JGR, two Penske, two Hendrick, a Spire, and a Legacy Motor Club. It's a pretty good spread out of these teams in the top 10. Which, your overall thoughts on this race? I think it was a solid race. You had good into stages. You had some different strategy. I think you probably want more out of it, but over the last, the month of May, outside the Coke 600, the racing was pretty bad. This was a pretty good race tonight.
Yeah, we still got to work on these tires. I mean, we saw it at the All-Star race. Tires that gave up made a difference and made the racing a lot better. And I felt like tonight, I mean, you saw it in the middle stages where Ryan Blaney goes 70 laps and really didn't fall off, and then took two tires twice, and it didn't make a difference in his times. Nothing seemed to fall off. He never seemed to lose it. And we need tires that give up. And we've got one supplier, and that supplier needs to really work at making that happen more often.
I think,
but the race, to hit that real quick, the race, I gave it a C plus, maybe a B minus. I thought there was some drama to it. There was the restarts, obviously, are always crazy, and at the end of stages, there was some drama. But all in all, it wasn't a barn burner, but it didn't really stink either.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I mean, you saw our reactions live. We thought it was a solid end of stages. There were moments. There was the second stage really could never get going because the cautions that started out. But overall, I think a solid race all about. All right, let's talk about the race itself. As Dalton is going to join us any moment from now, as soon as his service can work, and hopefully Nashville Super Speedway will help him out there. But let's talk about these. We talked about Ryan Blaney. Let's talk about the guy who finished second, Carson Hocevar. What a strategy got him in the second place with the pit strategy. He was able to hold off Denny Hamlin. He obviously has the moment with Stenhouse during the race, but I think the biggest thing for Hocevar, he's shown speed throughout the last couple of races. It's just like Blaney, the bad luck has fallen, whether it was a pit road mistake or an engine failure. Two-part question here for you, Neff. One, the fact they finally got the finish and it kind of proved the speed they had, and your overall thoughts on the way Hocevar is just racing right now in his second year. I mean, looking at the playoff cut line, he's currently, as mentioned, only 4 points off the cut line. So he made a big jump tonight. It was a big night for the 77 team and Carson Hocevar.
I mean, I thought he did a great job tonight. They got him up to 7th after the second stage, and then the pit timing got him in and out fast enough to end up slotting in the second spot. So the team overall, I think, is doing good. And like you said, he and Blaney have been very similar this year. He's been running near the front a good bit and been bitten by bad luck. The thing that I'm liking, and I'm listening to the post race a little bit, and Dale Jr. talking about how he loves Carson from a fan perspective and from a broadcaster perspective, because it's very similar to Ross Chastain. Hocevar is out there racing to win, and he may put himself in some awkward situations. He may end up costing some other people like he did tonight. I don't know. Ricky's mad at him. He was coming up. Ricky dropped down in front of him and he bumped him. I don't know that was anything malicious. I think he was just racing, and he had his spot on the track, and I think it was one of them racing deals. There have been some others where he's flat out wrecked people, and Corey LaJoie made the point that he hasn't had to pay a price on the track or in the pits yet. Nobody's come up and punched him in the nose, and nobody has intentionally dumped him on the racetrack. It's going to come, and the more that he runs at the front, you're going to see that happen sooner. But he has outstanding talent. Spire has found speed. Spire is building some great race cars. So putting those two together, if he can soften the edges just a little bit, he's going to be in contention to win on a regular basis.
Yeah, absolutely. As I think he's now find a spot. Oh, look at this stud.
Look at that guy.
You can tell his frustration here as we're joined by at Pitlane CPT, Dalton Hopkins, looking as fly as ever. Dalton, glad you found some internet or some service or whatever you want to call it. So we were talking about Carson Hocevar here during our pit race conversation, or post race conversation. Your thoughts on Hocevar's performance tonight? And obviously he did have that run in with Ricky Stenhouse, but ultimately a really good night for the 77.
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay, first off?
Sound loud and clear.
Fantastic. Yeah, I just want to let you know, I got to kind of lower my voice right now because I am, in fact, in the media center. I am in the deadline room right now. There is no spottable Wi-Fi anywhere else in the track at the moment. So that's what we're working with. But, when it comes to Hocevar, tonight was just another night for him. Honestly, I feel like this is just another drop in the bucket of what we are going to see towards progress when it comes to him and Spire Motorsports as a whole. This is a continuation of what we saw last week. I mean, we saw him run at Charlotte and arguably, was in contention to win the race. And now we are here tonight and was in contention again. I mean, in the last 30 laps or so, we saw him cut the lead down to about 2.5 seconds. So, and it was started at 5. So I think that goes to show that 77 team finally has speed. And I don't think we can really treat Spire Motorsports as a B team anymore. I think it's about time we start treating them, at least Carson Hocevar, start treating them like an A-list team. Start treating them like as if they're a front runner, because that's what they are now. So as far as when it comes to Stenhouse running, I don't know if you guys have already talked about that yet. Yeah, that's gonna be a topic of conversation when it comes to the media bullpen next week in Michigan, for sure. So I think that we are getting to the point where maybe the field has found their new Ross Chastain. They have found a new scapegoat, and this is gonna we latched onto another one. So I wonder if how Ross Chastain feels about that one.
Dalton, we talked about Blaney and finally breaking through. I think it was kind of the obvious stuff here. We talked about the in-season tournament, so I'm catching you up here, being locked in. But now the one thing I definitely wanted to say for you, because you were able to talk to these drivers specifically, which check out the videos on our YouTube channel, was the recovery of guys like a Bubba Wallace, like a Kyle Larson, like a Tyler Reddick, and like a Christopher Bell. Those 4 guys, probably different scenarios, like Bubba arguably saving his playoff cushion tonight with the way he got back in the top 10. Your thought on those 4 guys and the fact they were just able to recover so well tonight and get back into the top 10 and have really good performances in that third stage.
Yeah, I think, look, when it comes to, I'll talk about Larson first. When it comes to Kyle Larson, I don't think any of us are really that surprised to see him recover the way they did. We've seen them do that before. We've seen that team fight back from battles and be up in the top 10 at the end. I'm actually a little bit more surprised that he didn't go further up. I'm surprised he didn't get a top 5. But then again, track position was key today, and he certainly didn't have that all race long. So you should definitely be happy with what he got. But at the same time, this just goes to show that this is still a championship caliber team. This is still a team that doesn't really waver when they face adversity. When that first incident, on the first lap, whatever he got loose, I actually missed it when it first occurred. But when that first lap occurred where he got loose and had to go to the back of the pack, um, that was one thing, that's something you can come back from. And he already was started in the back of the pack, so it really wasn't. It was already kind of like he was already there, But when it comes to the actual incident himself, when I saw that crash here in the media center, I thought he was out. I really did. I mean, I guess I didn't get a really good hard look at it, but I really did think he was out of the race. So to see him, my eyes perked up when I heard, I don't know who it was. I think it was Marty Snyder. But to see him say, "Look who's up in the top 10," it's Kyle Larson on the Amazon Prime broadcast. Who, by the way, another great broadcast for those guys. But when I saw him back in the top 10, I was in disbelief because once again, like they really did it. They really came back and fought back, and I believe it was a eighth ninth place finish. So either way, I mean, top 10 result for them. So, and he needed it. He needed it after the first half of this race, and what happened last weekend with the double. Both races, he just needed this shot in the arm. And like you said, Trey, you can check out his reaction video on frontstretch.com on our YouTube page. But when it comes to Bubba Wallace, that is a driver that, again, really needed a shot in the arm. 3 straight DNFs in the last 3 weeks. That is not at all indicative of what we know that 23 team can do. I mean, I know he's not winning races as much as everyone else. I know he's not battling for the win every week, but 3 straight races, that's a team that really should be fighting for a spot in the playoffs. And these last 3 weeks have just been crushing those guys. So he knows that, and then that speeding penalty occurred at the beginning of the race, and that was, again, like another blow. But still came back, still fought back through the adversity, still came back and got that 6th place finish. So this is a night that I think we're not going to think much of right now because we've seen Bubba finish in the top 10. But I think in the future, when it comes to the playoff time, when it comes to time to get that playoff cut line, and I feel like he's going to be probably hovering around the bubble, I feel like we're going to be looking back at this race and think this was a race that they recovered and they got the maximum amount. They got all the points that they possibly could get, and possibly a reason why they could make the playoffs in the end.
Yeah, you talk about it. I think you want to talk about the moment. This might be the race that he makes the playoffs. He makes the playoffs like for Bubba Wallace, at least seals his fate, because now he's plus, I think, 54 to the cut line. He's 10th in points overall. He's 1 above Chase Briscoe. He's built himself quite a gap. But at one point in this race, he was plus 20, and I think he was, I want to say, like 15th, 14th on the bubble. Like there might have been 3 guys below him, which easily you could have 3 winners before you know it, and you're that last guy in. Now he has essentially a race of a cushion, whereas 20 points is 1 race and you're gone. Keeping a 1 race cushion from the cut line would always be an important thing. Dalton, one final question for you. I want to, you were able to get some great content out there. What's a storyline in this race that maybe is not on the headlines that you thought was pretty interesting? Maybe an interview or 2 you got with you and Danny, or is it? Do you think we've covered it all?
We did cover most of it, but I'll tell you what, I'll give you 3 small ones. Okay, how about that? We saw Eric Jones. That's the biggest one, I think. Eric Jones getting the top 10 for Legacy Motor Club. He's already matched the top 10s that he received last year. In the entirety of last year, he's already matched it. And at one point, it looked like he might have even got he was going to get a top 5. I mean, he was challenging William Byron. William Byron, that's a Hendrick Motorsports car. He was challenging him for position and beating him. He was pulling away from him. Now, I know this was a race that wasn't exactly speed-wise, track position, again, like we have all been saying, track position was king tonight, and there's no doubt about that. But when it comes to fighting a Hendrick Motorsports car to actually beat them and then pull away, that is still pretty impressive. And we saw that out of that 4-3 car tonight. And he was about, like I said, he was about to get another top 5. He was about to get a top 5, and that would have been already more than what he got last year. Actually, that would have been the most that he's gotten in a year, because it would have been his second one. It'd have been the most he would have gotten since 2022. And 22, he won a race. So I think I don't think they're right where they were in 2022, but they're close. I think they're getting closer, and Eric Jones knows it. And you can check out that interview on our YouTube page as well. But Eric himself said, this is it's more fun. It's way more fun to be running consistently. And obviously, of course, it does, right? I mean, this is a guy that's won races before, and he wants to run up front consistently all the time. Two more guys, and then we'll wrap up here. But Shane Van Gisbergen, once again, there was a point in time in this race where I believe he was running 13th, and that's without the green flag pit stops. That's without the green flag cycle. So he's getting better. There is improvement there. I think. I can't, forgive me, I don't know quite where he finished tonight. I think he was probably around the high or the low 20s, maybe 19th somewhere. I have to go look back. I've been running around ever since the end of the race. So, but Shane Van Gisbergen, I think there is improvement there in the ovals, and I think this is his first year, right, with the next gen car, and there's improvement there. I think we're going to see him get better, and not to mention, let's take a look at what we've got. And unfortunately, he did make the top 32. Right. That's
at one point it looked like he was. We talked about that. And SPG finished 25th.
He was going to get really, really close. And 25th, thank you. And he was going to get really, really close. Unfortunately, he didn't get it. But what a shame, because look at the next few races. I mean, we got Mexico City coming up here pretty soon. Sonoma's on the list coming up here pretty soon. I mean, those are road courses, and we know how SVG is on these road courses. So I think he would have done really well in the in-season tournament. Unfortunately, he's not going to get to see that. But still expect to see him running up front a lot more here soon. And, he'll probably bump my points a little bit more on the draft, on the happy hour draft. So
you need a recovery.
I need a recovery. I need it bad. And then finally, I do want to give a small shout out. Didn't end up the way that I think he was wanting, but Cole Custer. I think it was 17th he finished tonight. That team, their best finish this year so far, 19th. I think it's 14th. 19th, sorry, thank you. I think their best finish so far this year is 13th or 14th, and they were running 14th at one point. They needed a finish. They needed a good finish. They need a good finish, period. I mean, I don't know. That 41 car just does not seem to have the speed that Stuart Haas cars used to have, and I think a lot of people were expecting that, but lots of struggle out of that Cole Custer camp. And honestly, there are races where I forget they even exist. It's really difficult to remember those guys are even still here. So because they're just not up front like ever. So they needed a good race tonight. At least got a top 20 finish. I think even that's good enough for them. So small shout out to there. I noticed them tonight.
At Pit Lane CPT, Dalton Hopkins, check out Danny's content as well. I think it's just at Danny Peters on Twitter. So the two mates enjoying it up in Nashville. Dalton, thanks so much for joining me, and Neff, thanks so much as well. We're gonna sign off.
I was glad to be here, brother.
Neff and I have done about 4.5 hours of this stuff, so we're having fun. Dalton, enjoy. Can't wait to read your piece for frontstretch.com. That's coming out in any moment now. Shout out to My Place Hotels. Reminder, 10% off your next stay when you use promo code FRONTSTRETCH. Signing off for now for PRC. For Dalton, for Mike Neff, I'm Trey Lyle. Adios, everybody.
My Place Hotels is proud to be the official hotel partner of Front Stretch. With plush beds, in-room kitchens, and pet-friendly hotels, My Place makes for the perfect pit stop when traveling. Front Stretch fans can use promo code FRONTSTRETCH to save 10% on your stay at any of our nationwide properties. Sign up for our Stay Rewarded program to get even more savings. With My Place Hotels, don't just stay, stay rewarded.